Are you thinking about taking the AZ-900 Microsoft Azure Fundamentals exam but unsure where to start? We have got you covered. In this video, we will guide you through a clear step-by-step preparation plan focusing on the key topics you need to master. Plus, we'll share proven tips to boost your chances of passing with flying colors. The AZ-900 is your first step towards becoming an Azure Administrator, Azure Architect, DevOps or Cloud Expert. But that's just the beginning. To unlock the full career path and discover how to progress, we'll walk you through a comprehensive roadmap in our free live masterclass, showing you exactly how to land a high-paying role in Azure Cloud. Join people like Chris, Taufik and Sergey who have already landed their dream jobs in Azure. So don't miss out, register now through the link given in the description below. We have also shared links to our blogs in the description where you can explore the full list of Azure certifications. So now let's dive straight into the video.
So basically, these are some general strategies that we have to go through, that we have to keep in our mind when we'll be going for the examinations. So read both the questions and answers full in one time through. Identify the features mentioned in the answers. Identify text in the questions that imply certain services like RBAC policies, ARM templates, and SAS or MFA. It's just giving you a suggestion that you should try to identify, first understand the question to its entirety, and try to identify what specific service that particular question is pointing out to, and then try to look out for that specific service in the answer. So that's what is an example. Pay attention to qualifying clauses, that is in the most cost efficient way will be best fulfilling. So what we need to think about it from a solution perspective, it should be most cost effective way. It should fulfill the requirements that is in place. So these things we have to keep in our mind and then start eliminating the answer. So whatever is left then will be the answer to you. Eliminate obviously wrong answers to narrow down the selection as to the right answers as much as possible. So under the cloud concepts, the percent of questions that will come will be basically 20 to 25% of questions will come from cloud concepts questions, which was our domain one, where we discussed about cloud computing, benefits of cloud computing, different cloud services types that we have. So we have discussed about what is cloud computing and all those things. So I'll not go through them. Security, scalability, worldwide access, hybrid, flexibility. There were a lot of other ones also there. We have discussed about, I think, almost 12 or 15 of them. What are the benefits of cloud computing? We also have discussed about cloud models. This was on premises, and the reason why we have on premises here mentioned because we will compare it and understand what all that will come under infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So this is just a quick recap, guys. I'll not go through any detail on these things. We have already gone through in too much detail. Capex and OPEX, what is the difference between them? Capital expenditure and operational expenditure is also something, a very important concept that we should keep in our mind. Shared responsibility model, all the infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service all comes under shared responsibility model, because that is where customer and consumer, or the customer and the Microsoft, the provider, we share the responsibilities of each of us when it comes to the management of these services. So under infrastructure service, there is a certain amount of responsibility that customers shares and certain amount of responsibility that cloud provider shares, and it keeps and the responsibility keeps on changing as it goes from infrastructure as a service to platform as a service to software as a service. Against on-premises, what is infrastructure as a service, what is platform as a service, and what is software as a service is something that we have already discussed. What is the concept of public cloud? Public cloud is basically who delivers customer secure via over internet. Public cloud computing solutions available over internet to n number of customers via the service providers is called as public cloud. Private cloud basically let the infrastructure and the resources be used and for the single organization itself. Users and organizations do not share resources with other users and organizations. It gives the most secure cloud environment for an organization, but it is also costly. Hybrid cloud is something that we have understood. It's a combination of public cloud and private cloud, where you will be using some of the public best services which are available on public cloud and some of the services which are available on private cloud. Cloud deployment model, same thing which we have just discussed. It's just a differentiation between them. So there is a sample question that is coming up right now. The question is that ABC Corporation is considering moving their infrastructure to cloud. They want to avoid upfront capital cost of hardware, reduce maintenance, and scale resources according to the demand. So we have four different options. Which of the following benefits will ABC Corporation gain from adopting cloud computing? Option A, option B, option C, or option D? Which option do you guys think will be the one that will be the answer in this question? Which all benefits that ABC company will gain if they will adopt cloud computing solution? Give A, B, C, D as an answer. What do you think? Okay, correct answer is actually B. So we have also an explanation why B. It will go here. We have an explanation why B, because cloud computing reduced upfront cost, capital cost, flexibility, scalability, and on-demand resource allocation, because cloud computing provides business ability to scale resources on demand and pay as you go as what is used, eliminating the need of upfront cost, hardware investment, and ongoing maintenance. This aligns with ABC's corporation goal to reduce cost and scalability. So there is one more question that is coming up right now. Please go through the question once. I will also talk about the question. So the question is that ABC is using Azure to host its critical application. They are concerned about the security of their cloud infrastructure and data. According to shared responsibility model, which of the following is XYZ INC's responsibility? They are concerned about security of their cloud infrastructure and data. So what they should be, according to shared responsibility, which of the following XYZ INC's responsibility? So securing the physical server and data center, ensuring that cloud provider network is fully secured, ensuring the application data and access control within the cloud environment, managing the physical security of the cloud provider's data. So which one comes under shared responsibility model when it of XYZ company when they are using their solution over the cloud? So the correct answer is actually C. So explanation is that the shared responsibility model, in shared responsibility, cloud provider is responsible for securing the infrastructure, hardware, network, and data center, while the consumer is responsible or customer is responsible for securing their own application data and access control within the cloud environment. So let's look into one more question. All right, let's look into one more question. A healthcare company needs to restore sensitive patient data, which must comply the regulatory requirements, while also taking advantage of public cloud resources for less critical workload like marketing and HR applicants. Which cloud model should the healthcare company should opt for? Okay, let's see what's the answer. Even I am also excited. Okay, there was one more option. Sorry, there was one more option, community cloud, but I don't think so it's much valid. But let's see what's the answer. So the answer is basically C, the hybrid cloud. Why hybrid cloud? Because hybrid cloud model is an ideal for this scenario, because it allows the healthcare company to store sensitive patient data in private cloud, ensuring regulatory compliance while utilizing the public cloud for non-sensitive workload that requires scalability. So we have one more question here. Please read this out. A startup company has deployed a web application on public cloud. The application experiences high traffic during the holiday season, but very low traffic in other times. Which of the following cloud pricing models would be the most cost effective in this startup? What do you guys think? Fixed monthly subscription, consumption based, flat rate, subscription model with no flexibility. So let's see. The correct answer is B. There is no further explanation I need to read out, because everybody, all of us, we know that what is the correct answer and why exactly it is B. Now let's look into one more sample question. So a company is looking to build a highly scalable event-driven application that runs in response to users activity without having to manage the underlying infrastructure. Which of the following cloud service will be the most suitable in this scenario? virtual machine, serverless computing, services like Azure Function, traditional on-premises servers, private cloud infrastructure. Let's see. So because in serverless computing, we don't have to manage the underlying infrastructure, which we have already discussed. Serverless computing, very nice. And the solutions like Azure Functions will be the option that we can go for. Let's look into another question. Now the question is that when you are implementing a software as a service solution, you are responsible for configuring higher availability. Instruction: review the underlying test. If it makes the statement correct, select no change is needed. So what should be the answer? Is this statement correct? No change is needed. Defining a scalability rule is something that is required. Installation the SaaS solution, configuring the SaaS solution. Review the underlying test, and if this statement is correct, select no changes needed. Which option will you guys select? Let's see. What is the answer? The correct answer is D, basically. Configuring the SaaS solution. So guys, we have already discussed about this earlier. The only thing that we'll be doing is, so for an example, in Office 365, right? Or Google Drive. Let's say you are using Google Drive, you have crossed 5 GB data mark. The only thing that what you will be doing is that you will be saying that, boss, I need 10 GB more. That's what you do. Nothing more than that. So you just configure what you need at the software level. Rest everything will be taken care by the service provider. So configuring this SaaS solution is something that we only have to do when and where it is required. Apart from that, we don't have to do anything. Hence, I think that will be the explanation. While implementing software, your responsibility often involves configuring the various settings to ensure the service operates correctly, meets performance expectations, and ensures high availability. High availability refers to ensuring that the service remains operational and accessible even during failures or issues or in issues in some components of the system. So that's the reason why correct answer is D. All right, guys. It was a tricky question. I understand that because SaaS is little bit tricky to understand. So that's fine. Don't worry. So now we'll be talking about Azure Architecture and Services domain, in which we have discussed multiple things like regions, pairs, sovereigns, regions, availability zones, data centers, Azure resources and resource groups, subscriptions, management groups, hierarchy of resource group, subscription, management group, and resources. We have discussed about that. Under storage services, we have all discussed about storage account service, storage tiers, redundancy options, LRS, ZRS, GRS, GZRS. These were the options that we have available. Storage account options and types of services that we have. The four main services that we have blob service, we have queue service, we have table service, and then we have blob, queue, table, and file service, right? And then identifying option to moving the file by using AZ copy, Storage Explorer, Azure File Sync, Azure Migrate Data Box. We have discussed about that. Under networking, compute and networking, we have discussed about different type of compute types, containers, virtual machines, and functions. When it comes to virtual machines, we have talked about Azure Virtual Machine, Azure Virtual Machine Scale Set, Availability Set, Azure Virtual Desktops. We also understood the resources that are required for a virtual machine to be created. We need to have a network in place, then we need to have a subnet in place, then only we will be able to deploy our VM. Once we'll deploy our VM, network interface card, NIC card will get created. With that, IP address will be attached. So more in detail we'll be able to know, but when we're creating a compute, we need to have a network infrastructure created before we deploy a compute resource. So that was the resources required for virtual machines. We also understood how we can host our applications by using web apps, containers, and virtual machines. When it comes to virtual networking, we have understood what is VNet, what is the purpose of virtual network, what is subnet, how do we connect to networks, and what we call it as peering. We also understood Azure DNS service, which was domain naming server, Azure VPN gateway, express route, public and private endpoints of these networking solutions. So I'll not go through this again because I'm thinking to more have question answers round rather than going again and again for the topics. So just have a look at these slides which I'm just moving. and we'll be looking out for question and answers. So, okay, now we have question. One more question we have. So, you need to identify the type of failure for which an Azure availability zone can be used to protect access the Azure services. What should you identify? You need to identify the type of failure for which Azure availability zone can be used to protect. So which type of failure will help us to protect, that Azure availability zone helps us to protect from? Storage failure, physical server failure, Azure region failure, or Azure data center failure? Which one you guys think of? So availability zone, guys, availability zone. What is availability zone? So this is my region. Under region, we had availability zones. Availability zone 1, availability zone 2, and availability zone 3. So what availability zone concept was? To provide an higher availability, HA, higher availability at regional level. Regional level, right? Higher availability at regional level. So now what do you guys think? What should be the answer? Maybe I'm also trying to trick you guys. So basically, if I'll deploy my virtual machines in these three different availability zones, if something goes wrong in one availability zone, which is basically Azure data center failure, right? So whosoever has given D as an correct answer, they are right. D, Azure data center, because availability zones are designed to protect the Azure data center failures within a region, right? Each availability zone consists of independent physical data centers with its own cooling power and networking. This ensures that even if one data center fails, the other zone in the same region can continue to operate. This does not protect against region-wide failure, which is option B, or individual server or storage failures, which is option A and C. That's the reason why there is a further explanation of it. Why D? Now, these are the different compute resource types which we have discussed: VM, virtual machine, scale set, app services, and functions. These were the different networking resources which we have discussed. Azure Virtual Network. We haven't discussed about load balancer, and will not discuss about load balancer right now because it will confuse you guys. Load balancer and application gateway. Just think about them as networking solutions that will basically balance out. If multiple requests are coming, it will balance it out against the multiple resources that we are having in the backend to uh, to gather the requests that are coming and to provide proper response to the customers, because this is something that you guys will learn more when you guys will be exploring Azure networking section in your administrator and architect courses. All right, so these are those services. Now we have a sample question here. Let's see. So question is, a global retail company is expanding its services and needs to deploy application across different geographical regions to ensure higher availability and compliance with local data regulations. Which of the following Azure components will the company use to ensure its applications are highly available across multiple regions while adhering to data sovereignty requirements? Whether it is Azure Availability Zone, Azure Regions, Regional Pair, Azure Virtual Network, Azure Virtual Machines. The right answer is answer B, and all of you guys are correct. So the reason why answer B is because we already are pretty much aware about why option B, right? So we don't have to go too much in depth why option B. Now let's look into the next question. So a company needs to deploy a web application that is expected to handle varying traffic loads throughout the day. The company requires the ability to automatically scale the number of virtual machines based on the traffic spikes without manual intervention. Which of the following resources which suits best in this scenario? What should be the answer? There is a word that we have to think about. Automatically scale. Which solution here automatically scales? Azure Virtual Machine Scale Set is the solution that automatically scales, not other solution automatically scales. So the correct answer will be B. Now let's look out for the next question. So we have a company wants to securely connect their on-premises network to Azure Virtual Network without using public internet. They require a private dedicated connection to Azure to ensure high performance and low latency of critical applications. Which of the following service they should use to achieve this? VPN gateway, express route, Azure network peering, or DNS. Without the public internet, this is the main thing that we need to pick up from here. Let's see. So the answer is B, because when it comes to Azure Express Route, it provides a dedicated connection between on-prem network and Azure bypassing the public internet. Ensures high performance, low latency, and security, making it ideal for organizations that requires a reliable and secure connectivity for their critical applications between their infrastructure and cloud. Yes, be correct. Okay, now let's look into the third domain, Azure management and governance. Here we have discussed about cost management, multiple tools that are available for governance and compliance. What are the different features and tools that are available to manage and deploy resources in Azure, and monitoring the resources on Azure. So let's look into this. Here we have talked about what are the different factors that are affecting the cloud costs on cloud. What is pricing calculator? What is DOC calculator? Cost management capabilities, different cost management capabilities that are Azure on that are available on Azure. The purpose of tagging we have understood. Azure policies we have understood. Resource logs we have understood. Microsoft Purview in Azure. So Purview is basically something that you guys can also Google. It's a very simple thing. Basically, it gives us those features that is yet to be released from Azure, and so it's a separate portal from where we can see what all things that are going to get released. So that is what Microsoft Purview basically is. Uh, Apart from that, what we have understood is the features and tools of managing and deployment the Azure resources. We have Azure Portal, we have Cloud Shell, CLI, and PowerShell available. What is purpose of Azure Arc? We have understood that Azure Arc will be used to set up my private cloud setup. Infrastructure as a code, ARM template we have understood. Then we have discussed about Bicep, and then my suggestion is to go for Terraform. What is Azure Resource Manager and Azure Template? We have just discussed about it. What are the different monitoring solutions that are available on Azure? Under monitoring model, we have understood what is Azure Advisor, what is Azure Service Health, where we can check what exactly it is. Under Azure Monitor, we have log analytics. We can analyze the logs. We can create alerts. We can also look out for application insights by sending application logs to Azure. So these things we have discussed about. This is how Azure Advisor looks like. This is how Azure Monitor basically works in the backend. So it takes all the metrics and logs from application, from operating system, from resources, from subscription, from tenant, and other custom sources, which we can configure, and we can send that data to Azure. Once we have that data in Azure, we can create insights out of it. We can visualize it. We can analyze it. We can create alerts and respond against it, and also we can integrate these metrics and logs to take some actions, right? So we can do a lot of things, and all of these things we can do by using Azure Monitor. So this is something that is very important for us to understand the Azure Monitor, which you guys will be having in detail understanding about in the upcoming courses. I'm just giving you guys an high level idea about it. Azure Service Health. This is how the Service Health basically portal looks like. If you look out for Service Health, you need to search for this thing, and you'll be able to see the health of the or monitoring of the services that Azure basically is having. Now, again, we are having a question here. So let's go for the question. A company has a set of virtual machines. These Azure virtual machines will be hosting web services, web servers. The web servers need to send logs to a central log storage, which can be be used for this requirement. Azure Advisor, Monitor, Health, Service Health, or DevOps. What you guys think that what should be the correct answer here? Okay, let's look what is the answer. So the correct answer is D. Absolutely right. Because Azure Monitor is the service that will be used to manage the logs and the metrics on Azure. Now there is one more. Yeah. So it's an explanation. So we'll not go for explanation. We know that what is the answer. Okay, a company wants to make use of various security services in Azure. They want to get security recommendation for resources deployed in their Azure subscription. they decide to use Azure Key Vault service, would this fulfill the requirement? Yes or no? Okay, let's see what is the correct answer. Correct answer is no. Why no? Because we have something called as Azure Defender, Microsoft Defender for Azure, which will be used to get the security recommendations, not Azure Key Vault. Now, what is network security group? This network security group is something that comes under your parameter security, right? So network security group is basically it contains a security rules that allows or denies inbound network traffic or outbound network traffic from to several type of resources. So this is basically your virtual network, and to control the traffic of inflow and outflow from the your virtual network under that under one specific subnet. So basically this is your virtual network, sorry, this is your virtual network, this bigger one is your VNet, and this one is your subnet. So to control the traffic of inflow and outflow of the network packets in and out of the subnet, we, in order to manage that, we use something called as NSG, and that's the reason why NSG comes under parameter security. In the similar manner, we will be also having Azure Firewall. This is a service that you guys will be learning as you guys will be proceeding further. But Azure Firewall is a service that will be used to manage the inflow and the outflow of the traffic in and out of the Azure to public cloud and public cloud. Azure to public network and public network to Azure cloud, your private network basically. So what you can do is that you can manage what kind of traffic that you would like to have to enter in your private network, and what kind of traffic you would like to go out from your private network to public network, which is internet. You can use Azure Firewall to do all these things. There are multiple also other capabilities that Azure Firewall is having. It has Microsoft Intelligent Threat to find out known malicious IPs and FQDN. We can also create our own NAT rule. I don't want to get into too much in detail because right now it will not make sense, because it's a 2 hour topic basically, Azure 2 to 3 hour topic, Azure Firewall. But just keep in mind that for parameter security, we have NSG and Firewall, which we can basically use. Now let's look at the question. So the question is that which of the following service is cloud-based security service that helps you to protect the resource that are stored in Azure Virtual Network? Which particular cloud-based network service that helps us to protect the resource that are stored in an Azure Virtual Network? Sentinel, Key Vault, Dedicated Host, or Azure Firewall? Quite obviously, we have just discussed about Azure Firewall, right? So the answer should be T, Azure Firewall. Because Azure Firewall is a cloud-based network security service that protects Azure resources by filtering traffic to and from Azure Virtual Network. It provides features like application and network level filtering, helping secure the network parameter. The other options are Azure Sentinel. Azure Sentinel, Key Vault, and Dedicator do not focus on network security in the similar way, right? That's the reason why. Now let's look at the other question. So how do you ensure that when Azure Active Directory, which is basically intra ID, guys, intra ID users users connect to Azure AD from the internet by using an anonymous IP address, the users are prompted automatically to change their password. Which Azure service we should use? Azure AD Connect Health, Azure AD Privilege Identity Management, PIM, Azure Advanced Threat Protection, ATP, Azure AD Identity Protection. Which one you guys think of? Let's look into the answer now. The answer is D, because under D, what we'll be able to see is that conditional based access policies can be applied under the identity protection feature. And that we have just discussed that how do we check the risky behaviors of the users, and how do we basically create conditions that, okay, I would like you to do that before you actually enter my or basically gets authenticated in my tenant. Which statements describe the Azure locks? Tell me guys, which statement? Statement A or statement B? Read only permissions for whole from Azure based RBAC role-based access control, a feature of Azure that allows customers to protect their resources from human error, accident, modification, and deletion of the resources. So there are other options also, but the correct answer is B. Correct answer is B. One more sample question, guys. Who can use TOC calculator? Billing readers for Azure subscriptions only, owners for Azure subscriptions only, anyone, all users who have an account in Azure Active Directory that is linked to an Azure subscription. So it's a tricky question basically, right guys? Who can use TOC calculator? I just explained that you just have to go to google.com and search TOC. That's it, right? So basically the answer should be anybody, anyone, because it's available over the internet and it's not connected to Azure. It's connected to Azure, but anybody can use it, right? You can estimate for your environment, your on-premises environment at any time that you want. Okay, we have one more question. Which of the following statement is true? SLA guaranteed uptime for Azure paid services at least 99.9%. Companies can increase SLA guarantees uptime by adding Azure resources to multiple regions. Companies can increase the SLA guaranteed uptime by purchasing multiple subscriptions. This is basically a very important question, but just think about who gives this SLA. Microsoft gives the SLA, right? You cannot just increase the SLA. So these two options will be wrong options. Correct answer will be A. Minimum 99.9% availability is the SLA of the Azure services that Microsoft provides. One more question, guys. Your company plans to move several servers to Azure. Company's compliance policy states that server name fin server must be in separate network segment. You are evaluating which Azure service can be used to meet this compliance requirement. The Azure service that you should recommend for resource group for fin server and another resource group for all the other server, virtual network for fin server and another for all the other server, VPN for fin server and VPN gateway for all the other servers, one resource group for all the servers and resource block for another for fin server. What do you think? What should be the answer? A, B, C, or D? So let's look out for the answer. The correct answer is B because we have to actually correct Kishore. It should be B because we want to segregate the fin server from rest of the server on a separate network segment. So network, virtual network, separate network for fin server. Simple. So a company has a virtual network, a virtual machine defined as demo VM. The virtual machine was created with standard settings. The application is turned on demo VM. It is now needed to be ensured that applications can be accessed over internet via HTTP. You modify the Azure Traffic Manager profile. Would this solution fit the requirement? What do you guys think? Okay, let's see. The answer is actually no, because Traffic Manager profile is something that we haven't discussed. First thing. Second thing, if we haven't discussed, then most probably it will not be used to basically make sure an application is accessible over internet by using HTTP. You guys will learn more how that can be possible. But anyways, another, a company has 100 machines in its on-premises environment. They want to extend their infrastructure without too much extra capital or operational expenditure. Which of the following cloud they should opt for this requirement? A, B, C, D. Migrate to public cloud, move all to private cloud, have a hybrid architecture, move just 50 VMs to public cloud. What do you think? Company has 100 virtual machines in its on-premises environment. They want to extend their infrastructure without too much extra capital and operational expenditure. Very good. Let's see. Absolutely right. It's a hybrid cloud architecture that we are looking out for. So we are done with the question and answer. How does this exam looks like? So logistics of the exam is that from test center, if you are giving the exam, test center staff greets you. 2 forms of ID is required. One must be government ID with a photo. You must empty your pockets and lock your personal contents up. You will be escorted to the test center PC to electronically take the test. You must sign a non-disclosure agreement before you take the test. So these are the things or the steps that you'll be following when you'll be giving an exam in the test center. But it will be a little bit different when you'll be giving the exam from home or office. The certification exam is proctored remotely via streaming audio, video, and screen sharing feeds. The The screen sharing feeds allow Proctor to view candidates' desktop, including all monitors. The audio, video, and screen sharing feeds will be stored for a limited period of time in the event that that there is a subsequent need for review. So basically, what will happen? You have to follow a set of steps that they will let you know. And what will happen? You need to make sure few of the things. Make sure you have a strong internet connectivity. Make sure your camera of your laptop or your desktop is there and it's working. If it is not, then you'll not be able to give the examination. Make sure that nobody is in that room or office where you are giving the examination. Make sure that nothing is on the table apart from mouse or the desktop or laptop equipments. Nothing else apart from that should be on the table in which you are giving the examination. If you will not follow all these things, proctor will never release your exam and you will not be able to give the examination. This is from personal experience. I'm telling you because I have given all the examinations from my home only, whatever exam that I have given till now. So these are the things that you should keep in your mind. Questions are in form of multiple choices. There is no penalty for guessing. You will have 45 minutes to complete this assessment. Make sure you mark the questions for future consideration. If you do not know the answer of the questions, please keep it for future consideration. The exam will be of 1,000 marks, and you need to score 700 out of it to basically pass the examination. Before submitting the examination, please review all your questions before submitting. And before submitting, if you have marked any questions for future consideration, it will ask you to check all the future considerations. How many questions again? It will be somewhere around 40 to 60 questions. 40 to 60 questions, Derek. Okay. Which will be accounted for 1,000 marks and you have to score 700. And from all the three modules which we have discussed, first module 20 to 25%, maybe second module 30 to 45%, and rest from the third module which we have just discussed.
Thanks for watching. I hope this video helped you get a clear understanding of how to prepare for AZ-900 exam. I would also like to remind you about the free live Azure Masterclass I mentioned earlier. The spots are filling up fast, so make sure you grab your opportunity and register through the link given in the description below. Also, if you found this video helpful, do subscribe for more valuable content on Azure. And don't forget to check out this video next.